a new report finds terrorist attacks declining in the West, but still growing deadlier in the Middle East and Africa.
According to the 2023 Global Terrorism Index, the Islamic State, or ISIS as it's more commonly known, remains at the top of the world's deadliest group, due in part to its members capitalizing on regional instability as worldwide attention focuses on the war in Ukraine. CBN national security correspondent Burke has been looking into the report all day. Caitlin, how serious is the overall terror threat?
John, Jenna, in their annual report, the Institute of Economics and Peace finds that while the dynamics of terrorism are changing, the threat remains high. Experts warn that any kind of complacency, especially by world powers, could lead to serious consequences in the future.
Maintaining focus is really important despite all the competing priorities that are out there.
The Hudson Institute's Joshua Meservey points to the Biden administration's shifting focus away from the war on terror to pay attention to the growing concerns with China and Russia.
So it makes sense that there's been a pivot, but there is a danger there that we lose sight of these terrorist organizations that are still totally committed to attacking the United States, or if they can't hit the American homeland, would attack Americans or American interests in whatever region they're in.
This year's index indicates that Western counterterrorism efforts over the last 2 decades continue to pay off, showing a decline in attacks. Meservey points out, however, that doesn't mean terror organizations have been less active. They've just moved on to countries facing greater instability.
There has been a real shift to Africa, specifically the Sahel region, where we've seen a greater growth in terrorist activity than anywhere else in the world.
He notes that region of Africa faces frequent food shortages, poverty, and corrupt leadership.
There's an enabling environment that exists in these countries where you have kleptocratic, even abusive governments, and that helps the terrorists, frankly. It makes their ideology more attractive. It makes the message that they're sending to ordinary people more attractive.
The Islamic State remains the world's deadliest terror group for the 8th year in a row, with Afghanistan feeling the highest impact from terror attacks.
You have a terrorist organization that runs the country now, so it's really unsurprising, but it's also a reminder of just how badly the United States botched both the Afghanistan withdrawal and other elements of that war.
The IEP is calling on world powers to tackle terrorism by addressing systemic issues in places like Africa, where governments seem less likely to stamp out violent extremism and people appear more likely to be taken in by radical ideology.